let's go out to Massachusetts. We've got Brandi, she, her, wants to talk a little bit about religious beliefs and altruism, it sounds like. So, hey, how are you?
I am so well. Thank you for asking. Oh, yes, I want to talk about altruism, about the caller
Yeah.
Steve the time before. But first, I have to put a little, I have to dovetail a little bit on student Ben's
Okay.
description of the difference between gender and sexual orientation. The last caller was really getting to me, and it's actually motivating me because I'm literally in the middle of writing a talk about the difference between cis and non-cis and descriptions of gender and gender expression and gender performance. And I'm gearing this towards senior citizens. So that's what I'm literally took an hour break to listen to y'all's show. And now I got to hear that caller. Oh, goodness. It doesn't matter what chromosomes Jesus or whatever rabbi had 2,000 years ago, what their gender is. It has nothing to do with their chromosomes. I know for sure I'm XY chromosome. It has nothing to do with me being a woman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for
I'm
sure.
a woman, 50 years old. I'm out in public, and most people read me as a cis woman. And so, I'm like, no, we cannot be talking to, and then trying to blame it on religious people and say religious people aren't going to understand it. You're not understanding that.
Well, let's what was it that you called today about? It sounded like altruism and religion, and like it looked like it said you say those don't have anything to do with each other.
That flow through each other. Altruism is through our species. I studied anthropology in school with an emphasis and concentration on hominid evolution, and I looked at the fossil evidence going back through our group of humans that we call anatomically modern human. We see it going throughout these groups for hundreds of thousands of years. And we even see it in groups that we intermingled with, the other human groups, like the Neanderthals and the Denisovans and all of these other hominid groups of humans that were around. We see altruism through all of them. They all lived in small to mid-sized groups. They all were highly social with each other. They all may have had some sort of abstract thinking about life beyond their non-animation, right?
Yeah. And you're saying that that's something that is just kind of innate to the human experience rather than a religious aspect being put on top of it. Okay. I think that's interesting. Yeah. I think I'd largely agree with that. I mean, I think oftentimes what happens is the belief systems around the world try to co-opt that stuff, like definitely that's one thing we see in the whole atheist community, right? There's always a group of people that's like, oh, we can't have a community because that's religious, and then the religious people are like, ah, oh, that's right, see, you can't have a community because we're the only ones that do it. Yeah, I think definitely there's a lot of co-opting that happens from the religions, and altruism I think is one of the biggest ones that they've tried to steal and make their own, but we're fighting back, we're reclaiming it. So but yeah, go ahead.
ACA. I was going to say, especially at the ACA, as a trans person, I walk through society, and whether I choose to or not, I can identify myself as trans or not, because I have that privilege and that fortune to be in that position where I'm read as this woman. So I usually, depending on who I'm around, how well that person knows me, I will say, I'll talk about things that are trans or trans issues. If I'm just out in general public, it usually doesn't come up until I bring it up. But when around atheist communities, like I went to the studio there in Austin for the 1,000th recording in the studio with Steph Hansen. Yes, and I saw a live talk Heathen back then. It was Eric and Jamie, and it was wonderful. And I didn't feel I should hold back at all. The minute I walked in the door, I was like, "Hi, I'm Brandi. I'm an atheist and I'm a trans woman." Right? I get that
Good.
around the atheist community. I do not dare do that around a religious community. I have the
Yeah.
privilege of traveling all over this country. And when I'm in lots of places, I do not bring up the subject, and because I have to read my audience, and that needs to change. And
Yeah.
I'm working on my activism to help change that. But it is a fact that I feel way more comfortable in an atheist environment than a religious environment.
Yeah, for sure, and I think there's a lot of people that, would totally stand, hand in hand with you right there, Brandy, and we're glad that you have received such a warm welcome, and we wanna make sure that this community is welcoming for all people. We always talk about it, at the end and say, like, whether you believe or not, we always want people here. We want people to know that this is a safe space. So I'm really glad that that has been the case for you, and I'm glad you called us today and shared us your story because I think that is important. And I think it's always worth remembering that the religious community does not have a stranglehold on being a good person. They just don't, because we can absolutely do it. And people like you and people like Ben and all the wonderful crew here, we show that stuff time and time again. So again, Brandy, I'm so glad that you called in. You told us about that awesome experience you've had, because yeah, I that always warms my heart. So but it looks like, Ben, we are getting close here to the end, but it looks like we might have one other caller we want to grab before we move on. Real quick though, I mean, how has your experience been in a handful of different atheist communities? I know you were down at the Freethought Library, and you told
Yeah,
me it was such a great time. But overall, would you say that it's been a really positive experience for you? Do you think it's kind of been a mixed bag? Where does
I
it
think
shake
for
out?
at least for me, the communities that I've been involved in have all been good experiences. But it depends on who you talk to, and you go to places like I know Twitter's definitely the best place uh, to go for all of your community needs. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Do not go to Twitter for that. But we're seeing like a lot of the gender critical movement
Yeah.
is atheist or is made of atheists.
Yep.
So I've been accused of being religiously thinking in the fact that I'm trans and that I believe in trans rights. So it's definitely a mixed bag. So it just depends on who you're around.